It's a good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele and this is the Breakfast Club. Once in a while or once a week, we bring you a historical installment where we talk to former members of ZPRA, ZAPU. The idea being we want to enrich our history, to understand what happened in the liberation struggle, because uthiwa abantu abangayaziyo imbali yabo abawazi lapho abayakhona. So if we don't know where we come from, we might not appreciate some of the things that are happening, and we might not know where we are going.
That Rwanda's genocide started, I came out on, I had yet a night duty, came out in the morning on the 6th, I think. Then we were at home. They went for shoot, they never came back. But it was not clear what had happened because Radio Rwanda was still playing some soul music. Some Rwandese, they would tell us, no. If you hear this song playing, something had happened. Until at 7 o'clock, then BBC announced the crash and killing of President Habyarimana and this Burundian president whom they were together. So Woko in the morning, no, it was in the evening, the following day. He came with one Major Akru Shamtot, is now a colonel and defense attaché in Angola. They came together now to pick us. But the situation was so tense that the nationals could then look for one another and group for safety. So this Osho was at the front, Woko was behind. So when we opened the gate. I opened the gate with one Tetinlo. I think that guy is a colonel now at Army Headquarters. This Oshe came in. Then we now saw Okoyo coming. He jumped off from the vehicle. They showed him a grenade and a pistol. Then they took a vehicle from him.
The Rwandese?
Yeah?
The Rwandese? The one we taken?
Yeah, the Rwandese Inter-Army.
Okay.
Inter-Army.
Okay.
Those genociders.
Yeah. So they took a vehicle from him?
Yeah, so they took the vehicle from him. Now coming to collect his former prisoner for safety. That's what happened.
So when you came back now, you were friends?
No, when I came back 95. I saved some few monies to make some court action. I went to Rwanda when I was with the 2 Brigade, but from Rwanda I was posted to 3 Brigade. I found the Gukurahundi Ndebele, the guy who became the
Attorney General.
What do you call him?
Attorney General.
Attorney General. But he was before Attorney General, he was still practicing, but he had left the army. Then I made an appointment with him. I went to Harare to see him. I had written a document instructing him what to do. He read it, he looked at me at the eyes and said, no, I remember this. But he told me that I knew he was with intelligence, but as a senior army officer, I knew he knew all the procedures. But because all the dirty work was done by Zimbabwe Intelligence Corps, you could not now write to Army Headquarters and tell them about my problem. He told me frankly that, he told me that guy he told me his family is originally from Plumtree. Gukurahundi Ndebele.
Okay.
He told me how his own relatives had suffered during the Gukurahundi period. But there's nothing could do. But then he said to me, no, look, I will talk to some few generals at Army Headquarters and I promise you something will be done. Then in 96, I was phoned by one guy from Harare who was first given the board. When I went to Harare, that guy told me, in fact, when that guy phoned me, he told me that I was wanted by then Major General Mark Nyamboya was Chief of Staff Administration at Army Headquarters. So I went to Harare thinking of seeing Major General Nyamboya. But that guy then told me that no, the general is not in the office, he's out on business. So he had given him instructions. The instructions were that I must write a simple statement that I was injured at night, not mentioning all those political things. So that's what I did initially. And when papers were processed and the medical board done, patient's office then refused to pay out the pension. And the question asked by the patient office was, what was I doing at night? So everyone was stuck now. I then wrote a letter to pension office and Army Headquarters that maybe from what I went through could have been, I cannot pick even a cent on the street, but I should rather want government to pay me that cent. So I went to Harare pension office. Unfortunately, I talked to one guy who was some head of department there. He was called Veja. I was so cross. Unfortunately, that guy, I learned later that the guy was Zipra. And the guy who told me is Makuya. Unfortunately, the Veja guy is late. If that guy is still alive, I would have apologized to him, but I talked to him very strongly. I went back to Army Headquarters, then the Army Headquarters were then forced to reconvene the board. The guy who did my board of inquiry, we were both measures by then, Major Vutsichin. Of course, he cuffed it because he didn't even want to record statements from some other people. I said my veve, then he went to assume that I said Mazwezo. We had one guy who was Mazwezo in Zipra, but he avoided recording statement from this Mazwezo from Zanda. Even the statement recorded from this Mareza was then Director Army Intelligence, 1997. It was just a useless statement, I would say. Maruf was then the brother-in-law to Mugabe. He had given him a diplomatic post in Canada, maybe as a thank you for what he did to us. So eventually I was paid something, but when I left the army, they discontinued it. That's all about the boards.
So, I mean, we are now in 2021, you haven't suffered this. When you heard that there was the NPRC, how did you feel?
I thought maybe initially I had kept it within myself, but I remember my wife appeared on the NPRC hearing. Even though she did not mention the exact reason of my arrest. Because I remember listening to you, what you're saying, I was arrested for attending a funeral of a distant. The funeral, of course, I came here in Bulawayo to attend my relative's funeral. I had one cousin of mine, I don't know how old were you, because it appeared in one of the answers, Temba Moyo. If you can still recall the story of Temba Moyo. This Temba Moyo was my aunt's son. He had visited me for 2 or 3 weeks in Harare. When he came in Bulawayo, he was killed. So by that time, I was attached to Army Manning and Rocos under Colonel Rupia, Martin Rupia, a former SAS guy, who was the director of it called Mining and Records. Then someone phoned, I think from home, he phoned the Tembi Directorate where I used to work. I got the message. So I went back to Mining Records to be given a leave pass to come and attend the funeral. So when Rupia approved I think I was with the Major Marquez was our admin officer. He recommended it, Rupia approved, but I had to take the pass to this Colonel Mand now to counter approve it as well. For reasons that I had foreseen later. When I came, I boarded the evening train. We had two chambers in the family. Uchemba ukwaba mdala, then uchemba umtaka auntie. Uchemba umdala uba umdala khona uzalwa ngumkhulu mdala. So when we were together with Zipra, we were very close as brothers. So this Temba cousin, of course, was just a distant cousin of mine. But umtaka auntie wazalwa labo baba, maybe second born of my grandfather. I thought the dead Temba was the brother, not the cousin, until it Chukutu. When I met this Palmer, was Palmer Mbakwa, who the last born of Edward Love. We are coming from the same area. So the one who now made it clear to me, no, it's not Temba your brother, but Temba your cousin. But then it said to me, no, it looks like relatives are having problems to take the body from the mortuary. Then I asked him why. I said, I know, he was phoned. So when I arrived at Bulawayo, I went home. My father was at Makwekwe, that they were staying at New Makwekwe. I went there, I was told, no, it looked like it's a police case. The police are refusing to release the body for burial. His death is not known what happened. So we left home, my father and my cousin, the brother to the late Temba, to Mpilo Hospital. I remained at the mortuary. So they went to that police post as Mpilo Lapan. They came back and said, no, it looks like these people are refusing. So as we were about to move out, then one vehicle came. I saw my father and the brother to Temba, they went back. I remained standing. Then from the vehicle now came Joshua Ngom. Then they went to the police post. I don't know what was discussed there, but we then went into the mortuary and we apologized. I had to write my particulars clear, the voting Sevenza, the KG6. I left Bulawayo before my cousin was buried because my off days were now off. When I arrived in Harare, my wife was working at the MP office. So she later told me that when Mining Records and Pay office were co-located. So she told me that when you passed, there was a guy she was working with. I was working with the wife of the brother of the guy. The brother was stationed here at He's late. He was a Captain Mborozwe, but he's died maybe as a Brigadier Mborozwe. He was an intelligence officer at one brigade. So this guy would say to my wife, yeah, Captain, we are akambopona, akasongo. This time I attend the funeral, it is dandy. This time, Barugum clear shit. So my wife came home, she told me. Then I had to change the place. In the morning, I went to tell the director, this director Kenny Mand, of what had happened. You called my wife. Then the wife of this guy who was in Bulawayo, and some of the clerks who were there when this brother talked of me surviving my earlier arrest. And now that I've attended this funeral, I was to tell. So whatever they discussed with Mando never told me. But I survived that after my initial arrest. So that is what my wife said. But she was telling me something. No, I couldn't just say you arrested for this and that, because she came when I was out in Bulawayo when she appeared before that commission. But I would have loved to appear in front of the commission, but it looks like they are dragging their feet, and I'm very much disappointed. We have lost a man like Johnson Mkanda. Looks like he had a vision on how that commission was to handle Gukurahundi. Maybe taking into account his low experience again. So we were just left in the wilderness.
Lastly, the chiefs now are saying they are the ones who are going to be handling the issue. Do you have the trust?
I really don't know. Let's read a statement from Chief Mchana saying they're going to design a template. I don't know how that template will look like. Right, in other countries, with some international efforts trying to address this genocide issue. Look at Rwanda. I don't know, maybe in Rwanda, the so-called civilized world were interested because the genociders in Rwanda killed some 10 Belgian soldiers first before they killed the Hutus. I don't know, maybe they might have seen that since they also killed some wise, the international effort took much interest. We saw this Kosovo thing, where some Serb leaders were sent to ICC court after the genocide. Maybe the genocide of 7,000 people, as compared to our number in this region that is not even known up to date. I remember seeing Mugabe's interview when he was already deposed. That man never admitted that he did something wrong to the people of this region. At the same time, he kept on saying ZAP wanted to take power from him, something that he knows was not true. Look, there are two situations. These Zanu people say why they killed our people. First, they talk about the crime that we don't know, saying they were committed by the Ndebele monarchs. Second issue, they talk about ZAP and Zipra wanted to take power by force. But knowing exactly that Gukurahundi was something planned even before independence. I don't know whether, but I think as someone, you must have gone through the Enosinkala audio to Studio 7. It tells us something. I think I told you what my tormentor Okoyo said when we were in Rwanda. It was a government program. So involving the chiefs on such thing when we also want to know the reason of why the people were killed, how people were killed, even the death certificate, and really a cause of death. I wonder what William Chana's template say about the cause of death. Maybe my opinion, of course, most of our ZAPU leaders are gone, but we still have remnants of our commanders in Zipra who could have maybe now taken over the leadership of ZAPU after the natural wastage of the political leaders of that time. I think if those people are properly put into structures to address this issue, as we will tell them what we want. Because there's no way we can tell ZANU of what we want done, because so far it is clear that they want to make a cover-up on the whole thing. People talk of shallow graves all over the country. Some of which are not even known. And some people are still very much afraid to come to the open and say, I know so and so was buried there. Maybe I also forget to tell you that my own young brother, I'm followed by a late sister and that brother. He was killed in Slovenia. Something that really caused problem to my parents was that when we could not account of where my young brother was, I was arrested. So up to now, my brother is not accounted for. But there are some guys, I think it was 405 Battalion in Slovenia. There are some who have confessed to have seen where he was killed. But there was a lot of movement of those people. Some even survived death. It takes time for one of my own uncles, to tell me that he saw my brother being killed. I think he must have opened up some 2 years back. But we are living almost in the same village. Meaning we still have a problem. Some plaques being destroyed, put in as a memorial object for those people that were killed. I want to say Titiliza Eusu. Now, whoever identify umuntu ulele lapho, we will increase the figure. It becomes a problem. And there's no way these people can be let alone to solve this problem. Just done by them for their own reasons. And as a victim, really, I cannot demand an apology from you, because that is self-consciousness. You cannot demand an apology from them. But it's something that may come to them alone as human beings, as a gesture of goodwill, or maybe to show remorse, rather. That's what they teach us. But you cannot say what you did is wrong when you really planned and executed it.
Lastly, my last question to you is, in your own view, how do you think this thing should be solved?
This thing needs the intervention of the international community. Why can't they address genocide in Zimbabwe as they did it in Rwanda and Kosovo? It is very unfortunate that some of our key people in ZAP and ZIPRA have died. But some of us as witnesses, we know how this thing happened. We can still come forward, give evidence of what happened. No, I did not tell you the whole story. Maybe I told you the quarter of the story of what really happened to me as an individual. As you see me here, I was lucky to live and tell the story as I'm telling you now. But those guys really wanted to kill me. Unless someone thinks we are not human beings who are also supposed to live. Especially if you look at what really happened before this thing, the genocide started. There's a book that was written by Sifas Msipa, who was a ZAPU executive member. You have met with Zopo, a ZANU lawyer as well, who told him of what was going to happen. Msipa talked of going to see the Australian ambassador, who also thought of making contacts with the British so that they discuss as diplomats. It is said that when the Australians told the British, both the British ambassador and the military attaché, BMAT commander, shot that idea down. Then you may still wonder, why did they do that? They were here in Zimbabwe when people were killed. Didn't they see it happening? The CIA to come clean on the whole issue. But unfortunately to us, as victims or survivors, nature is taking its course. But really, eventually, maybe amongst ourselves, the victims, the problem is that even if we start to do it, we cannot work it out because we are always under the eagle's eye. We can maybe have our own recordings. Maybe that is something to involve like what the Catholics did, but the Catholics did it halfway because people continue to be killed. People continue to be killed up to date. If there's a document that proves that these people were killed by the state, we cannot say after these ZANU people go, who are themselves the killers, it ends there. No, it mustn't end there because we're killed by the state. Whoever comes to take over the Zimbabwean state must be still held accountable for what the state did for us, to us. Yabona kungangcono kwekile. You look at the way how these chiefs are being treated now. They're given all the luxury life and they're coerced to protect the killers. Unfortunately for us to lose Uvez Matuna and what they did to Nhlanhla Ndube, it's just that was just elimination of other people so that they do what they want.
Yeah, I think maybe we can end on that note, because you've clearly told us, your views about the issue, but also how you think the issue can be solved. And we can clearly say that the issue of Gukurahundi will not be solved today. Unfortunately, as long as we have the same government that perpetrated Gukurahundi, solving the issue of Gukurahundi will prove very difficult, because there are a lot of people who have a lot to protect. And like Douglas Malikwa said, if these guys can destroy a plaque that is just put to memorize or to remember a victim, what will they do to someone who stand up and try and tell the truth of what happened? Either the person who was involved then, the person who was in the system, or even a person who witnessed it. So we, as a nation, I think we're still not prepared for truth-telling. We don't have the system that can hold us together. We don't have the protection of those who might be willing to share their stories. And I hope we need a very different system, a guarantee that those who come forward and try and tell their stories are not going to be the victims of the system. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again in other programs, have a good day.